All right. Hi, everyone. Well, shot number 1 in the bag. We did it. We got the shot in. It's funny how much I had talked to the pharmacist. I watched videos. I listened to things about this, and then actually sitting there and doing it. But let me first talk about what prep work I did in order to get this shot in, or what I did to prepare. I'm never used to be, but I am now someone who prepares for things, because you find out that most everything is acceptable as long as you prepare for it. Bad weather, hiking out in the rain, most things are good as long as you can prepare for it. The question is now, what did I do to prepare? Well, after reading a lot of Reddit, there is good information and bad information on Reddit for sure. Very helpful stuff. What I gathered from lots of people was, first of all, your stomach can feel not so hot. And I looked at a lot of the drugs in my house, old, 2015, and stuff I don't use anymore or can't use anymore. Did a big purge of all the medications I had in this house. Bought new stomach stuff, because primarily what people feel as side effects when they aren't affected by serious side effects where they should contact their doctor, they get gas, they get upset stomach, they get some constipation or some diarrhea, they get anything that has to do with the digestive tract, obviously, because this has such an effect on your entire digestive system. So I bought new drugs when it came to that. Secondly, I realized I don't get a lot of fiber in my diet, so got some methods to get fibers, anything from more serious fibers to gummies. For the most part, I hear that people say, if you just top off whatever fiber you're missing in a day with 1 or 2 gummies, you'll be good. So we're going to try that. And the other part is my doctor suggested vitamins. He said if it's fancy marketing, if it looks special at all, if it's mega doses of things, avoid that. Just stick with the very simple vitamins. And I stuck with just Centrum for women. Very simple. Nothing too exciting. But we're going to try to troubleshoot issues as they come up. If they come up. I mean, some people don't feel any issues at all. And some people have quite a few. I start to wonder, the more I've read on websites, Twitter, Reddit, social media, that some of the things that people get in reaction to this drug has to do with some of their own actions, I guess. Not entirely. Some people just flat out get walloped by this drug. So I don't want to say everybody, but a lot of people eating the wrong things, going in and saying, oh, I took my drug for the first time and then I ate a whole pizza and boy, did I feel sick. Well, not surprising, right? You're going to feel sick if you eat a lot of things. And the third spot I prepared was my grocery shopping. I don't think I eat too terribly bad at this point. I have been, over the years and over the diets, just been beat into submission. I just don't eat that many things that are that terrible for me. But I do have individually sized meats in my freezer that I sealed up with one of those freezer things, because I'm just a single person. I don't cook for a whole family. And so I go to Costco and I buy the chicken and the pork and flank steaks, and then I seal them up into individual serving sizes. Makes it nice and easy for when I'm going to go cook. It's that ready. Some of the vegetables I ate can give people some upset. So I switched over to spinach because I like spinach, and in its raw form, in salad form, or on sandwiches, love it. So spinach is something that is good for you, that you can do lots of things with. Then when it came to some snacks, what could I do for some snacks? I got some bars that are, like protein bars. Made sure I had fruit available in the house. Just good things. Made sure that my house was just stocked full of good things. One of the things that I had done before this point, because I was so focused in on my sugar, is that I had lean chicken, lean meats. I have high fiber items in the house, and that includes keto bread that I get from Costco. It is a lot more expensive than regular bread is, but it has a high amount of protein and fiber in the bread. The one word of advice I have about it is freeze it and then take it out as single usage items. It will mold over quite quickly. But I like the bread. It tastes very good, and if it has all the fiber and the protein in it that it says it does, it's pretty good for you. And every once in a while, particularly when I'm not feeling so hot, toast, bread, that kind of thing makes me feel a lot better. So some of these methods of eating. I'm just going to pick up from where I left off because I feel I had pretty darn good eating. I just needed to cut out some snacks, cut out more treat days than I probably should have, but also eat less. I got into measuring and weighing all my foods, and I have done it on and off for the last 5 years, because that's part of it, is if you think you're eating a tablespoon of peanut butter, could be a couple of tablespoons of peanut butter if you actually measured it. And so the amount of things is probably where I was most concerned about it. And so I just prepared, and I wanted to find the perfect time to take this drug. The word on the street is that day 1 through 5, it has a bigger impact on you. You feel more full. You feel the hunger messages away from food have gone away much more strongly in those first 5 days. It starts weaning itself off a little bit towards day 6, and then at the last day when you're about to take another shot, quite a bit. So I felt my biggest danger times were happening on weekends, and I wanted to have a stronger response during weekends when I'm more likely to do something outside of what I want to eat. I really wanted it in place for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Those are my worst days. So I decided that Wednesday was a pretty good day to start taking it. First of all, on Thursday, I don't have my appointment with my trainer, so it gives me kind of a day to rest if I'm not feeling so hot. I also tend to have a little bit of a more quiet day on Fridays at work, which means I can just sit there to myself and quietly work on my work things and not feel too worried if I just don't feel the best right at that moment. So then, if you think you might get side effects, those side effects seem to come somewhere about 8 to 12 hours after you take the drug for a lot of people. Some people don't have side effects at all, and some of them have them for a longer period of time. But if you just wanted to get the vibe of what people were saying on social media, about 8 to 12 hours. So I took it at 2:30 this afternoon, so that by 10:30, if it was going to have side effects, I'm just ready for bed. I can just crawl into bed and try to sleep the side effects away. So trying to make this as easy to overcome as possible, and a good time to take the drug where I'm not typically in the middle of things. Like Saturday, I'm usually out hiking with my friends. I don't want to all of a sudden take out a big needle and jab myself in the leg while I'm out hiking. Wednesday's pretty dull, so that way I picked that time, and I think it's going to work out quite well. But I think you need to pick a day that works for you. I believe that this is really the only decision we have to make other than the food we put in our mouths. So I found that that decision was probably the most important of anything that I was going to decide. Other than, again, the food I was going to have available in my house. About 2:30, I went and got my pen out, and I had previously taken it out of the refrigerator. I hear people feel it's a little less painful if it's at room temperature. Sometimes people can feel the cold in them through the needle, and it's unpleasant for people. The other area that you probably heard from other resources is that you can inject it in 3 different locations, either your thigh right on top or the back of your arm where you have kind of a more fatty area, because that's where you want to put it. It needs to go into a fatty area, or around your stomach at least 2 inches away from your belly button. I really wonder what happens at the belly button, but 2 inches away from the belly button. And the idea is that you want to change locations. I guess apparently if you jab yourself in the same spot all the time, it gets to be scar tissue, and then it doesn't go into your system well. And you don't want scar tissue, right? No one wants that. So I decided I'm going to start rotating it. So the first shot went into my left leg, see how it goes. And it was kind of a comedy at the first part. I'm sure my friends are just sick of me of talking about it, and so sorry about all that out there if you're out there. But first step is really easy. You have to take off the cap. I have seen people on YouTube and other places who forget to take the cap, and if they unlock it, there's nothing you can do, I guess. You know, it can get you so where you're going to waste that dose. So first step, take off the cap. Step number 2 is that you unlock it. And step number 3 is you put it next to your skin where you're going to put it, and you click the button and you hold it there for 10 seconds. It's going to pop back up, but people say just hold it there, leave it there for 10 seconds, and it goes in. And so I had the first panic is that I noticed when I pulled the cap off, there was a little bubble of Mounjaro juice sitting on the needle. now I'm wasting it. Then I put it on my leg and I click the button. I didn't feel a thing, not a thing. And when I looked, there was a little tiny bubble on my leg as well. And I'm like telling my friend, I think it didn't go in. I don't think it happened. I think I screwed this unscrewable thing up. And I looked again to see what other people's reaction, primarily on Reddit. There's a number of really good subreddits that have to do with taking any one of these drugs. Most people are very helpful and some people are snarky, but most people are really good about this. And they said, that happens. In fact, you saw a lot of people say that the same thing happened to them and they ended up going back to their pharmacist hoping to get another dose because they screwed this one up. Turns out it's fine. And then I started to notice this reddening around the area, first in streaks, and then it sort of looked like a gigantic mosquito bite. But it didn't itch or it didn't hurt or anything like that. And maybe 30 minutes in, when I first took the drug, I was a little bit hungry. I had only eaten breakfast. I was a little bit hungry. I should have eaten lunch at that point, and I didn't. And then the drug started coming in, and suddenly I started, like I said, about 35 minutes in, just feeling like full. And when they talk about it, a lot of people will describe it like you just ate Christmas dinner, Thanksgiving dinner. You just had a huge meal, and you just can't eat anymore. And that was my first reaction. I went from being moderately hungry to entirely full in just that 35 minutes. I can't say that it was nauseous. Some people say that they feel nauseous. I didn't feel nauseous. I felt full. But I also felt like if I ate one more bite, maybe I would be nauseous. So I just sat there with my water and sipped away at my water. And it went fine. I had a banana somewhere in that afternoon. And a bit later, I had a little minor sandwich with spinach, tomato, and avocado spread on it. And that went down fine. All day long, my stomach was kind of gurgling and thinking about it. In the end, it seemed okay. It never got angry. And so now, I know this is the lowest dose. They start you off with the lowest dose that you get with Mounjaro in particular, but I think all of them, they want you to work your way up. So let me talk a little bit about when I talked to my doctor when he did finally give me the drug. So what I had to do is get some lab tests, and it showed I was type 2 diabetes. I had crossed over that line, and I had crossed over that line before. And he said, yep, you are diabetic. Your thyroid is in good condition, so that's good. And your other labs were fine, too. You don't have kidney problems. You don't have other problems. So let's do this thing. Let's, put this on Mounjaro. Because I had both things. I had the weight and I had the type 2 diabetes. So that was probably, in his view, the best drug. He gave me some ideas of some things to eat and things that maybe I want to avoid, and I was fine. I like this guy. It's funny. He's my brand new doctor because my doctor retired right after the pandemic, and he's thoughtful, and he listened to me, and then he gave me really good advice. So I appreciated his involvement in this whole process. I felt he was trying to do the best thing for me. But in his view is a little bit different than I think some of the views that I've seen out there. What people try to do is they want to ramp up to the maximum dose as soon as possible on all of these drugs. It's going to work better. I'm not going to hear the noise. I'm going to lose weight faster. And his view was, I'm going to start you out at the low dose. We're going to do that for 1 month. That means there's 4 vials. And then after that, we're going to move you to 0.5, I think it was. And we're going to see how you do. And just stay at that level until something changes. I think the something changes is you don't feel it's working anymore. I'm not sure what the not working part means. If the food noises come back, I believe is absolutely part of that. Do you no longer feel that level of fullness anymore? How badly does it go for you once you've reached adaptation? And adaptation is common. It is a big part of this drug. People get used to it, as they do many drugs. And this is a hormone. The problem is that you can only go up so far in dosages with each of these drugs. And so if you keep going fast, all the way up again, you will eventually adapt your way into the highest dose. And if you are adapted at that highest dose, there's no more room to grow. You can't go higher. This is the maximum amount of drug you eventually get to. So the longer we can stave that off, and have lower doses work for me, he believes, the longer this drug will be available to me. He says that I will be on this for life. I wonder if by the time I'm done losing the weight, getting out of type 2 diabetes, hopefully that happens too, we'll learn more, right? At some point I read that Eli Lilly was hoping to have a drug that you take every day. They hoped it costs $1 a pill. I don't know what it's going to do. I'm sure the insurance companies in a lot of places are going to hope you get off of this drug at some point. And there's going to be clinical trials and there's going to be attempts made. And I'd like to see that. I don't enjoy being on a drug forever, but it seems to me that if you're going to be on a drug forever, these are the drugs to be on forever because it takes care of so many other things, the heart disease, kidney. I mean, every day it is like a new study coming out about what these drugs help beyond the help that you get from just losing the weight. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see what happens next. But just to kind of give you an update, we're going to talk a little bit next time about some of the things that I'm doing now to ensure that I stay healthy and some of the measurements I'm taking. I got one of those scales that tells you all your mixes and matches of skeletal weight and muscle weight and fat weight. I don't believe that they are accurate, but I believe the change is accurate. So if it says you're, 50% muscle, I'm just making up a number, and it goes down, I don't think that I'm necessarily 50% muscle, but I think that the amount that it's going down is probably accurate or accurate-ish. So I'm just interested to see how my body makeup changes in that. So that's what we'll talk a little bit about next week, about some of the measurements that I'm taking, because I'm a numbers gal, to be honest with you. I love numbers, and anytime you can stick a number into some thing, I'm all for it. I love it. So that's week 1. So far we're doing well. We feel good. I feel full. I had to eat my dinner and that banana incredibly slowly. I would say the last 4 hours of my workday was me taking a bite, working for another half hour, 40 minutes, taking another bite, and working away. I don't want to starve myself. I know a lot of people do, and we'll talk about that in future episodes about how many calories and how do we lose weight on this. But I am going to try to maintain a certain level of calories to ensure I stay healthy. I lift weights. I go to my trainer. We do a lot of muscle things. I don't want to end up losing all my muscles. So anyway, I appreciate you sticking with this. We're going to talk more about some of the other tools and technologies and small steps to get better habiting going when it comes to all of this. I appreciate you listening, and I'm learning the software too for the video, so we're going to become better at that too. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you next week.